So how did I make this VWAP chart in Sierra chart? Alright, so we'll get right into this. Just open a new chart and make sure to pick whatever you trade. I'm going to make this chart into the S&P 500, so this is the ES. Just pick whatever you trade and you can follow along. So come to window and we'll just detach chart window here. Bring it back. And firstly, come to studies and we're just going to add everything I have on the chart. And this whole video is timestamped so you can go around the video to the more interesting parts first. Firstly, we'll come to C. We need to add the cumulative delta. So cumulative delta bars volume. And then we have the Heiken Ashi. So this is the Heiken Ashi here. And I really enjoy this setting actually to have on. So just take the normal Heiken Ashi here, and then we have the timelines. So right here, I always use 2 timelines. So make sure to add timeline 2 times. And then we have the volume by price. So this is our volume profile here. And just lastly, we have our VWAP, the volume weighted average price right here. And those are all the studies. But as you can see from your screen, this looks extremely ugly. So for that reason, I'm actually going to hide the volume profile initially. And once I get to changing the settings on that, I'm going to bring it back. But for now, I'm going to hide it so that the screen is a little bit more pleasant to look at. And it will clear out quite soon here. So now we'll have to come to graphic settings and always make sure to take the global settings off. And there's just a few things we need to change here. I always change this last trade price box. I really like this to be black and then the foreground to be white. And the only way to change the Heiken Ashi to be thicker is by changing the bar high low down and the bar high low up to the width of 2. And also change the bar open and close to the width of 1. You don't have to, but I recommend you do that. Then you want to come to chart settings. And you can see that it's an intraday chart, but I don't like this number to be so big. I don't actually know if changing this does anything, but I always do this for all of my charts. I just don't want it to say 4,000. And I also don't need 30 days of data. So we'll just use 10. And then we have the bar period. And this is a very important setting for you to figure out yourself. I have found a number of 7,500 to work very well for the S&P 500, for the ES. So if you're trading another instrument, maybe gold, maybe NASDAQ, maybe the micro contracts, make sure to really fine tune this volume number to your own preference. Don't just copy my setting here. You can do that, but you really should fine tune it at least later on. Press apply, and I'm just going to change these bars here to HLZ bars. I like those a bit better. And then we come to the session times. And first things first, I always do this on all of my charts. I like to look at the chart on the time zone of where the instrument is traded. So in this case, it's going to be New York. Take the evening session off. Make sure to apply before you start to change these numbers here. And here we're going to put the session open and close. Okay. So the session start time in this case for the S&P 500, or for the ES rather, will be 6 p.m. and the end time will be 5 p.m. So exactly 23 hours. And you can find this information on the CME group website. Make sure to press apply. And just one more setting to change here on the chart settings, and it's this log fill space. So just come off, and I'm just pressing the right arrow now. I'm just going to add a bit of space between the chart edge and the last candle. I just like it to be this way. And put yes there. You can also change the name here. So we'll just do something like that. VWAP ES, that's good enough for me. And make sure to put the scale range on constant range. Also for the cumulative delta, you don't need to put it here. This will come off soon. And I'm just going to make this a bit closer. I'm bringing it together. And now we can finally start to change the interesting settings. Did you know that only 27% of people who watch my videos are actually subscribed? So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below. And also, the pinned comment on all of my videos has a link to my free trading Discord. So make sure to come and join my Discord if you like trading related topics. So with that being said, let's now come to studies again. And now we're going to start cleaning this up. And the first thing we'll actually change is the Heiken Ashi, which is right here. So come to settings and we'll want to add this to the same chart as our price so that it overlays the chart. Looks much cleaner already. And graph draw type, I like this to be HL bars. And by the way, in the end of the video, there will be a section of optional settings. So make sure to also watch that part of the video because we will be going through some of the extra settings and, you know, ways you can customize the chart. But I think it's going to be easier for everyone if we just go through this quickly. So here we only have to change the colors for the Heiken Ashi. And again, you can choose anything you want. But for now, I'm going to choose dark green. And I think I'm going to keep this red. Maybe take a slightly darker red. Like that. Actually, that green is way too dark. Let's do like that. And in the optional part, I'm going to adjust the colors a bit, but I just want to keep the tutorial here going. So that's it for Heiken Ashi. Now we come to the timelines. These are very quick to change, so we'll do that right away. And the first one we'll put at market open. So this will be 9:30. And the second one we'll put at the session end. Okay, so 6 p.m. And this one we'll make black. And the second timeline, which is at 9:30, I like for this to be red. And I like to change the width to 2 so that we can clearly see when the market opens right there. It's very noticeable. This way you'll always know when time is 9:30 on the chart. All right, so let's get to the VWAP now. So the volume weighted average price. And I'm just going to move this up. And I'm going to move these timelines here down. Yeah, I think that's good. All right, let's change this. And fortunately, we don't have to change anything here, actually. This is perfect as it is. A Sierra chart is very nice for that. We only have to touch the colors, really. And again, this is going to be based on your own preference, largely. But there are some optional settings also we'll have to go through in the later part. I like for the VWAP to be in different color. Now this needs to be something you can very clearly see, and yes, we can see the purple here. Or is this pink or something? I don't know. But I think for this one we'll make it blue. Instead of having the draw style as dash, I like for this to be a line so that now it actually looks like a nice VWAP line. And if you don't know how these bands work, maybe I'll make a future video where I explain how the VWAP really works. But this is just a chart tutorial, so I'm just going to make it in this one. A few things here I'm going to change is firstly in the top band here. I think that's a nice color. Same for the bottom band. Right, press apply. Nothing happened yet. But this needs to be transparent, fill top, and then this one needs to be transparent, fill bottom. And don't worry, that will go away. So now we have the top band and the bottom band here, number 4. And we'll make these into line. All right, I was wondering why it wasn't working. So I think here you have to first put the rectangle top and rectangle bottom for it to stay here. Otherwise it goes across the whole screen. So just to show you, for the top band, we'll put the bottom, and for the bottom band, we'll put the top, and now it stays there. And I'm just going to make these colors slightly more grayish. And I think we'll actually do this. So I need to add the color. So just press there, and now it's saved right there. So you can take the same color for the second one. And that's actually starting to look pretty nice already. So that's pretty much the VWAP actually done. You can see it looks quite clean, but the colors don't really match quite yet. You know, the red and the green, maybe they don't match perfectly with the color of the VWAP, but we'll go over this later on. And also you can add the second band here. And I think for myself, I'm actually going to take these top bands off. So we'll just hide them. So the bottom band 1 and the top band 1 we'll put hidden. I don't personally need those, but again, we'll go over that in the optional settings, as for the top band and the bottom band 3 as well. So then we have the cumulative delta bars. And again, Sierra chart is so amazing that we don't actually have to change anything here. Only the colors really, if you want. But I kind of like this white and red color here. So I'm actually not going to change anything now. Maybe we'll look at that in the later part. But then lastly, we have the volume profile, and I'm now going to unhide it. And you can quickly see why I did hide it, so that it's not on top of the chart like that. So here we actually have to change quite a bit of the settings to make it look nice. And the first thing we'll change is ticks per volume. I really like for this to be 1. You can keep it at 2, and you can see what it did. It actually removed the color of the bars here. And the first thing I always change is this right align volume bars. I always put yes, and I always also put the maximum volume bar width percentage. Firstly, so that it becomes smaller, it's easier to look at, and we'll put that at 20 for now. We can change that later on. So obviously here we'll want to have multiple profiles. Now there's many ways you can put this setting on. You can use the fixed time for the whole session. I don't like to do that. So I'm going to take this multiple profiles from start time to end time. And we have to manually change the times. Okay, so here we have the different start time. We'll want to put yes. And here I'm going to put the regular trading hours. So this is 9:30 and the session ends at 4. And let's just check quickly that it actually did make multiple profiles. So we can see that we have multiple profiles. We have a profile for every session. And in the future, I might make a video on how you can use this chart. But you know, honestly, this volume profile is something you might not even need. So you might want to just, you know, not even have it, honestly. But there's still things we need to change on the settings here. And one of those settings is this: always display last profile within view. And you can see that this quite nicely removes the volume profile from it being on top of the VWAP here. But there's another problem. You can see it kind of goes into it. And there's 2 ways we can fix this. Number 1, we can change the width percentage. So if we put 15, for example, you can see that it removes some of the space. Another way is that we come to the chart settings and we actually increase the log fill, or the log fill space. So now we press the right arrow again, and we can put just enough width so that the volume profile doesn't go on top of our VWAP. And we have bid volume and ask volume coloring method. I know this doesn't do anything anymore, but just put none. I don't need the colors on the volume profile here. And there's just one setting which I have on all of my price action charts, and it is here in the grid. So we need to put here yes. So show vertical grid, and you can see that every time the month changes, there's this new grid here. It's a nice addition. I know there's a lot of lines on the chart now, but you get quite used to them, and they are quite useful, especially the red one here. So there's just one more thing we need to change, and then the chart is technically complete, and that is to add the lines here on the cumulative delta. So I'm just going to do that now, and we'll add the same number as we did for my NinjaTrader chart. So we'll add 3 on both sides. And I'm just going to customize these. I'll show you how to do this one time, and then you can do it yourself. So right click and then come to chart drawing properties. And since this is the first one, you want to set the anchor value to 0. This is very important. And make sure to lock it. Press apply. And make sure to change, you can put this at 3, and you can change the colors to your liking, but I recommend that this middle one is something you recognize immediately. So I'm just going to keep this as black, and then I'm going to change the other colors a bit and show you when I'm ready. All right, so we have all our lines here, and you can see that I have one for 5,000, 10,000 and 15,000 for both sides. Make sure to lock each line, and also you want to see the number here. Okay, you want to see the number, otherwise it's, otherwise you have to remember it, and it's just easier when you see it. And again, change the colors as you want, and let's adjust the size a bit. And the chart is actually now complete. Everything's done. Now we're going to get to the optional settings, but if you want to click off now, see you in the next video. All right, everyone, let's continue to the optional settings. And before you ask me, yes, it is the next day, and I'm really looking forward to this part, because here I will make the chart look very personal, and I will also give you some ideas on how you can customize it to look slightly nicer. I mean, this is a complete chart, but it could look a bit cleaner, and we're going to go over those one by one. And what we're going to start with is actually with the log fill space here. Looking at the chart, I just want slightly more space between the price and the chart edge. And I think that's pretty good. In all honesty, when looking at the VWAP chart here, I only really care about that session. If I want to look at the previous sessions, the previous days, I can always scroll back, but I really want to see this session here very clearly. That's the most important thing for me. Now, for this first customization, we're going to change the graph draw type into candlestick bars. And we're going to come to studies, and we will disable our Heiken Ashi. And I have actually duplicated the chart so that I can just show you how you can do this without me actually changing my own chart, because this is not how I like to have my chart. Then you want to come to graphic settings, and I thought of a really interesting color set here. where we put one of the colors, the up colors, as white, and make sure to change the outline to black so that you can actually see the candlesticks, and then we'll make the other color black. I suppose this doesn't matter. So this is a very interesting way you can actually have the chart. This looks very clean in my opinion. Now obviously we'd have to change the VWAP colors still, but I really like how this looks. But there's also another color set which I really liked when I was kind of testing these colors, and that is to actually make the candlestick down color into red. So you have this red and white, and this is a very interesting color set, which I quite like how it looks actually. So now we'll look at the VWAP. Let's see how we can customize that into making it look slightly better. Now again, you don't have to change any of the settings here. Those are all perfect from the outset. Now, an interesting concept here which you can do, and I'm not going to get into standard deviations and all that, but you can actually set all 4 bands if you want. And I'm going to show you how you can do that in a very kind of interesting way, I think. And for this one, since this is the first band, I'm just going to change these colors quickly. And we can't quite see anything yet. So we're going to do the same thing for this as we did for the second bands. So we're going to do this transparent fill here. And let's just see which one is the right one. So for the top band, we take the transparent fill bottom and the bottom band transparent fill top. And I'm just going to change the color for these. I just wanted to kind of match that pink color we used before. We're going to take this really pink color here. And the basic idea here is that the closer you are to the VWAP, the closer you are to the mean or the average. So obviously that color needs to be more distinguishable or darker in my opinion, because it's the more kind of important area we can say. And I kind of like how this looks. Now obviously we'll have to change the VWAP color here. Something that works really nicely is always black, but I don't quite like how black looks on this, so let's see if we can't find a better color. Now red could work, but because the bands here are, you know, this pink purplish color, the red kind of gets lost in that. Now there is green. I'm also going to change this slightly. So this is the transparency level, and let's see how this looks with 85. Let's see 80. You know, I quite like how that looks already. Like, I think this looks very clean here, but I just don't really like the green color. Let's see if we can't find a nice color for the VWAP here. Orange is actually pretty good. Maybe we'll do blue, but kind of this blue. You know, that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. And now we'll set the third band here, and these will just be black for me. But instead of making them look like the number 4 bands, we're going to set these to line again, but we're going to change the line style here. And I really like this dash dot dot, like so. Oh, it did not change. Maybe we'll have to change the width. Yeah, there it goes. So the width needs to be 1. And this is already looking quite nice. Now you could fine tune this for hours and hours and make it look really perfect. And I actually recommend you do that. But this is quite, like, I actually quite like how this looks. Maybe I would still kind of try to find the perfect color for this VWAP here. You know, I actually think the blue works pretty nicely here. Yeah. There's also something you can do here if you want to add value labels for these bands here. You can do that. This may be something you might be interested in. That way you know where the band is. But, you know, I don't need that because, you know, there's a very easy way to find out. So let's take the previous day, for example. Like I can just do this. This is more easy for me. I don't need to have, you know, 50 different price tags on my chart. But let's now look at the volume profile here. So the only thing basically for the volume profile which I would personally change is the POC, or technically it's called the VPOC, or the volume point of control, since the point of control actually refers to a market profile. Technically, I just call it a point of control, you know, it doesn't really matter. Let's see if we can find that setting here. So here we go, highlight point of control. This is something you might want to do. This could be interesting. And, you know, I actually think this is a pretty good color already, but I personally like to have these as red. And I'm just going to change the bars color here just slightly. We'll make this into, you know, I was testing something with black yesterday, and this is too dark personally, but there's a way to make it slightly less dark. And obviously there's, you know, there's an easier way to set the color nicely, but I'm going to use this method here. So we're going to use the transparent draw style, and we'll change it to 20. Let's try 25. That's pretty clean. That's pretty clean. You can actually see here, this is quite interesting. So we're currently in the overnight, and because the market open hasn't started yet, we can see that this volume profile here is actually yesterday's. So when time hits 9:30, this volume profile, which you see here, will move, and a new one will begin. This is a very interesting thing. Maybe I'll make a future video on how you could use this exact chart here with your trading, but that's not going to be in this one. And there's just one more setting which I want to talk about, and it is with this cumulative delta here, and it is really with this. So the graph draw type here, and as you can see, there's so many to choose from, but I really, you know, this line on close is quite interesting to me. Now, I don't personally use this, but let's see, we put the width to 2. You know, I actually think this is quite clean. Like, I actually quite like how this looks. If I didn't already use the candlesticks, this is something I might actually consider using, just because it's so clean. You know, it's one color. You could even change it to black if you want, but just to give an idea, I don't use it like this, but this is something you could try it yourself. I use it like the candlestick bars. I'm so used to this, so I'm just going to keep using it like that. There's all these colors you can also change, and that's pretty much it. But I'm going to change the other chart. So I have 2 VWAPs now. I duplicated the chart, so I'm actually going to make this chart into what I would use, and I'm going to show you that one. All right, so here we have it. We have the second VWAP here. I'm just going to pull both side by side so we can actually compare them. There we go. So we have both of our VWAPs here, and tell me in the comments which one you think looks better. You could use either one, and honestly, you know, your preference and my preference could change day by day. Some days I might, you know, I might enjoy the right one more, and some days maybe the left one more. But the point of this video was to give you everything you need to make your own chart here, so that you can, you know, use this new knowledge to make your own preferences in Sierra chart and apply this knowledge into your own trading. And that way you can have the best tools, which will obviously increase your chance of, maybe succeeding in trading. But that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to join my free trading Discord, and I'll see you in the next one.